Welcome to the Casuals Guide to UFC Fight Night Tuivasa vs Tybura, where I show you filthy casuals why this card is going to be a banger. So go ahead and smash that like button and let's get right into it. In the main event, the number 9 ranked heavyweight Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa defends his spot in the rankings against the number 10 ranked Marcin Tybur Tybura. Bam Bam is a huge fan favorite and for good reason. He is a heavy hitting brawler with some highlight knockouts. He's got some devastating knockout wins over Stephen Struve, Harry Hunsucker, Greg Hardy, Augusto Sakai, and Derek Lewis. Unfortunately for Tai, he has been on a nasty losing streak lately. He has dropped his last 3 fights. His skid started with the nasty knockout loss to Cyril Gane. Next, he would go toe-to-toe with Sergey Pavlovich, and he would get knocked out in the very first round. In his last fight, he would get submitted by Alexander Volkov via Ezekiel choke. 14 of his 15 wins have come by knockout or TKO, and he's going to look to defend his spot in the rankings against Tybura. Marcin Tybura is 24-8 with 8 wins by knockout and TKO, and 7 by submission. He's also racked up some notable highlight finishes. He has great TKO wins over Greg Hardy and a great TKO win over Walt Harris. He took Alexander Romanov from the ranks of the undefeated, but he is coming off a loss to Tom Aspinall where he was TKO'd in the first round. Both guys will look to bounce back and try to get back into the title picture. Don't miss out. In the co-main event, Kennedy African Savage Nzechukwu takes on Ovince OSP St. Preux. Nzechukwu is 6-4 in the UFC so far. Every time he gets on a winning streak, he hits a roadblock. He was able to gain some momentum with 3 impressive wins in a row. He started his streak when he TKO'd Carl Roberson in the 3rd round, and he would follow that up with a 2nd round knockout over Ian Cutelaba, and he would top it off with the guillotine choke over Devin Clark. He would hit a bump in the road when he would get TKO'd by Dustin Jacoby. He's going to look to bounce back against OSP. You know, OSP is a veteran of the game. He has 26 fights in the UFC where he has gone 14-12. He has been pretty inactive these last couple of years. The last time he has fought twice in 1 year was in 2020. Last year, he only fought once against Felipe Lins, where he would get knocked out in the first round. He is 40 years old, and he has looked like a shell of his former self. He has looked super slow, and we might be seeing the end of the road for OSP. It's going to be a tough fight for OSP facing a guy in his prime that can grapple and that also has power in his hands. Will OSP be able to fend off another prospect, or will Nzechukwu bounce back with a solid win? Don't miss out. Mike Beast Boy Davis takes on Natan Lethal Levy. Inactivity has been the theme for both of these guys. Both guys haven't fought since 2022, and there's been a lot of canceled fights. Some were their fault, but not all of them. Mike Davis is on a 3-fight win streak. He started it back in 2019 when he would knock out Thomas Gifford in the 3rd round. He will follow that up with a decision win over Mason Jones. In his most recent fight, he would win a decision win over Vyacheslav Borshev. That was almost 2 years ago, and Natan Levy has a similar story. He's won 2 fights in a row with his streak starting back in 2022 when he would beat Mike Breeden by unanimous decision. He will follow that up with another decision win over Genaro Valdez in his last fight. Mike Davis is the bigger finisher and in my opinion has the better wins. But anything can happen, and it's going to be interesting to see who can come back from a layoff and keep their momentum going. Don't miss out. This Saturday, Thiago Moises takes on short notice replacement Mitch Ramirez. Moises was originally supposed to face Brad Riddell, but Brad withdrew for the fight. Moises has always been in the mix at lightweight, but has always come short of a big win to get a shot at the title. In his defense, he has faced a lot of killers. He has losses to Beneil Dariush, Islam Makhachev, and in his latest fight, he would get TKO'd by Benoit Saint Denis. He does have good wins over Christos Giagos, Alexander Hernandez, Bobby Green, and Michael Johnson. It always surprises me to learn how young he is. He is only 28 years old, and he is actually younger than his opponent who is making his UFC debut. Mitch Ramirez was on the Contender Series where he would lose to Carlos Paredes. He would obviously not get the contract, but it didn't really matter much because now he's getting a chance on short notice. This might be a terrible mismatch, or it could become a very fun fight. Either way, don't miss out. We get a very underrated fight when Josh Kuya Culibao officially welcomes Danny El Puma Silva to the UFC. Josh is 3-2 with 1 draw in the UFC so far. He made his UFC debut against Jalin Turner where he would get TKO'd. Next, he would get a split draw against Charles Jourdain, and he would get his first UFC win over Shailin Nordembeki by decision. Then a split decision win over Sungwoo Choi. Another finish when he would lock in a rear naked choke against Melsik Bagdasaryan. In his latest fight, he would lose to LaRon Murphy, and he is still trying to get his footing in the UFC. Danny Silva won his contract on the Contender Series with the win over Angel Pacheco, and now he makes his UFC debut. He is 8-1 with 5 wins by knockout or TKO, and it's kind of a random matchup, but a fun one nonetheless. Don't miss out. Pannie Banzai Kianzad gets her shot at revenge when she takes on Macy Chiasson. These girls fought back in 2018 in the Tough 28 finale. Macy would win via rear naked choke and become the Ultimate Fighter. Macy Chiasson returns back to bantamweight after a short stint at featherweight where she went 1-2. She lost via guillotine choke to Raquel Pennington, and she won a close split decision over Norma Dumont. Then in her last fight, she would get TKO'd by Arena Aldana. Kianzad has also been in a rough patch. She would beat a veteran in Alexis Davis by unanimous decision. Next, she would lose to Raquel Pennington by decision, and she would bounce back with a decision win over Lena Landsberg. In her latest fight, she lost a decision over Kellen Vieira. It's a fun rematch between ranked bantamweights. Don't miss out. Alright guys, that was my rundown of UFC Fight Night Tuivasa versus Tybura. I hope you guys learned a thing or two, and it's going to be a great night of fights. Don't forget to tune in. I'll see you next week for UFC Fight Night Ribas versus Namayunas. But until then, protect your neck and take care.
They talking crazy about you. They said
brother,
they smash
who
you.
cares? Who cares, brother? Who cares, brother? Who cares? Today, smash.